The Forbidden Forest is one of my favourite parts of this whole Harry Potter Magic Awakened game, and I'm pretty sure it's a lot of your guys as well. So today I'm going to give you 5 tips to make the most out of the forest and get through it every time you enter. My first tip, and probably my most important one, is make sure you go through the Forbidden Forest with friends. If not friends, just random other people that want to play through the forest as well. It will make it 100 times easier. NPCs are okay, they just literally take the fire for you, but they are pretty crap compared to what your other friends can be doing. So the best way that I've found to do this is you can come into your world chat here and just post HH, anyone, whatever level, or DD, whichever one you want to do. House, you can do the same. So the channels at the top here, the social club, if you click on this right here, it'll send a notification out in the chat to your whole social club, your dormitory, your house co-op, or an assist. These house co-op and assists are really good because it shows it to a broader range of people. But from what I've experienced, if you have a pretty tight-knit social club or a big enough social club, people are pretty happy to come and help you with this. So if you have just randomly joined up with people in the past, however long, they sit over here in this recent. It doesn't always need to be Forbidden Forest. Like I joined this Mel Jarvie during the Boggart class. So I can, if she wasn't in Boggart class and she was online, I could invite her as well. This is the best place to go and get your invites to go through the Forbidden Forest. Everyone is in the same boat as you. They need help to get through these levels and to start grinding and getting their way up. So choosing your bonuses when you are within the run. So right here, this is the first one that I got given. I don't have any other bonuses. And I've got given 2 DPS and 1 control. If you have a look down at the bottom left-hand corner over there, one person has already picked Stupefy as control, and I can't really make out what the other one picked. But with someone already picking Stupefy, I'm going to go ahead and pick out my DPS. Fiendfire is what I'm going to choose because once you get it, if you get the chance to fully level it up, you can just literally sit it in the corner and it will attack the boss consistently. You don't need to do anything else. You'll see as we progress through the video where my placements are going to be for this Fiendfire to get the most out of it. My second choice would be Aguamenti, but I do like Fiendfire a little bit more because you can just plonk it down and it goes ahead, and you can continually do other spells where Aguamenti you really need to direction it at the boss or whoever you want to attack. It is a very, very good DPS as well though. So if your other 2 teammates have picked both DPS, maybe it is worth you picking a control card straight off the bat, because especially if you're doing a Deathly Dell, you do need a lot of control, especially Stupefy. It is an amazing card to get you through the Deathly Dell, and it is probably more lucrative than getting a DPS because you can't use a DPS if you haven't controlled the enemies. So as you can see, I was very, very lucky on this run of the Haunted Hallows. I got my Fiendfire all the way to the top level. My choice of going Fiendfire was probably the best option I could have gone. As you can see, I was really lucky on this run of the Haunted Hallows. I got my Fiendfire all the way to the top level, so he was hitting like a truck. But as you can see on this one, I've got Crucio over the other side, which is also an amazing spell to get your boost right up. If I was playing on the Deathly Dell and going through 20 levels and having, 10 to 12 options of getting a bonus, I would pick Crucio here. And my reasoning behind that is, once you have gotten one of your spells leveled up with a bonus, you seem to have more chance of it coming back to then level it up again. So yes, I know I'm missing out on my fully upgraded Fiendfire, but I have a really good chance of that coming back to me as an upgrade later down the line. Whereas if I skip on Crucio when it is at base level, I seem to have a lot less chance of it coming back as an option to go forward. So this is just my personal opinion. I don't have any stats to back this up, but from what I have seen, if you have already picked the bonus, there's more chance of it coming back to you. If you pass on it at its base rate, then you have a very, very small chance of it coming back to you. So when I have one that's nearly there and one that I would love to pair with it, and I still have enough time to get the other one to fully leveled up, then I'll choose the other one like I would have in this stage doing Crucio. If I was on Deathly Dell. Haunted Hallows, I would not do this because you do not have enough time to get both of them all the way up. You want to have one fully maxed. So within the forest, there's a lot of points where you have the choice of going to the fire and healing and regaining steps, or going to the shop and going to this shop right here. If you have health, I would highly recommend you come to this one rather than the other one. If you desperately need health, then go get health. There's still a few things there that you can buy, but this, I feel, has such a much more bigger impact on your progression than the fire and that other upgrade section that you get. So the way that I would usually buy my stuff within the Haunted Hallows, because you end up with about 1100 every run, you can buy 2 from the top range, which I've gone with both a DPS, because I feel like that 2 levels up on your DPS, it hits so much harder. then I'll get the attack up and the health up. This spends 1100 of your gold, and that is pretty much the best that I have found. This is, again, personal preference. And as I said, mainly try and choose DPS up the top because that extra 2 levels just smashes the damage out even more. Obviously, going through the Deathly Dell is going to be a little bit different because you get so much more gold, and you probably do need to go to the fire a little bit more than you do in the Haunted Hallows. But again, I'd still aim for the top row, get your DPS leveled up because it does stack. If you end up at this inventory twice, you can get your DPS up 4 levels. 4 levels is absolutely massive, especially if you're using those Fiend Fires or Aguamenti, something like that is a legendary. It will melt your opponents. This attack and health also stack, so if you do have enough gold, it's probably worth upgrading those as well. Before you go into a boss battle, have a look down at the bottom right-hand corner over there, charms. Make sure that the charms that you have picked, your spells that you have upgraded, are in your book, and make sure the ones that you have picked are relevant to your opponent. Obviously, there are some opponents that absolutely take out summons and they're not worth it, and some spells aren't as good and you want more summons, so you really can change your decks up before you get into every battle, which I think is absolutely amazing. You don't have to take that one deck the whole way through. You can change and switch it up at every boss. Also, you have to remember down the bottom there is potions. Make sure you use those as well, because that heal that those potions can give is actually pretty good. Hello, yes, it's me, just butting in very quickly. I think I've had this channel for about 7 days at the moment, and I've just clicked over 100 subs. Thank you to everyone that is subscribed already. If you're watching this and you haven't yet, please hit that bell down the bottom, because you do not want to miss any of my content that's coming up soon. But let's get back into these last tips. So before you do go into the Forbidden Forest and you're picking your deck, see right up the top there, up the top next to Hagrid there, it says My Deck, the Forbidden Forest. So you can set these decks to be automatically picked when you go into certain parts of the game. So as you see, I've got a Classroom, a Forbidden Forest, and my Solo Duel. You can also unlock 12 other decks. They cost 1,000 gold, which I think is a little bit steep. But it just makes it a bit easier when you go into everywhere. You don't have to be thinking about what you're doing. You're just in straight away and go. So I'll quickly touch on how to build your deck when going into the Forbidden Forest. I like to use Dobby. Just the movement that he gives is absolutely undeniable and amazing. You can just blink away from any attack really fast. The other echoes, there is a lot that they give as well. But just as a beginner, when you're first starting out, I feel like Dobby is really easy to play. You can put whatever cards you want with him, and as I said, you can dodge those incoming attacks, and once you feel comfortable knowing what all the bosses do, then probably move ahead into a Hermione or a Hagrid or whoever else you really like playing. So the way that I like to structure my deck going into the battle, this is obviously all up to personal preference, but I like to have 3 or 4 DPS. As you can see, I've got Fiend Fire, Crucio, Aguamenti, and the Thunder over the other side. And then I have 2 control, I have Stupefy and then Ventus. So the other 2, I usually like to have the healer in there. I don't know why it's not in there right now. I've probably been stuffing around with this deck. And I do like having the tree because it can kind of act like a bit of a control, because it does pull the enemies towards it, and the enemies do focus on it while you can stand back and just start attacking the enemies. So I'll head down to the companions, but before we go there, I will link a video up above if you haven't seen it already. It is my best cards to take into the Forbidden Forest. Make sure you go and watch that as well. It'll show you my favorite 9 cards, I believe, to get into the Forbidden Forest and really progress through it as fast as possible. With the companions, Ivy is really situational and is probably the best at level 20 on the Deathly Dell. For the other ones, I really like Hermione because you can just put her out, put one of your like Crucio, Aguamenti, she does it well, melt the opponent. Lottie, you get your mana regenerated, and Daniel, you get health back. I think they're a pretty standard 3. Maybe you use Cassandra for her lightning, a bit more extra damage, but again, that's all personal preference as to how you want to play. I'm just going to let this play behind me. Obviously, as you play, your mana regenerates and it goes up over time. When you get to a certain part, like I am probably about now, where it looks like you're going to win pretty easily, I would stop using spells, because that mana down the bottom carries over to the next level. So you want to start the next level, like I had 9. I'm going to start this next level with 9 mana straight off the bat. That is a huge, huge bonus to go into a boss battle with, especially once you get to the higher levels of the Deathly Dell. That means you can pretty much spawn in, drop Fiend Fire right next to you without having to wait at all. So make sure you hold off. If you know you're going to beat the level, just hold off a little bit until your mana gets to full and you're just using your auto attacks. This also works really well if you have summons out there just doing the attacking, then you can sit back and wait, maybe do a few heals on yourself, getting towards the end of the battle, so then you don't have to use potions or end up going to the fire. So I'll let this play behind me. As you can see down the bottom, I have 7 mana at the start of this battle. I blink away, I drop my Fiend Fire down before there's any side adds. Well, there's one just there, but he just melts that. As you can see, 170 ticks continuously, and then it even went up. And now he's just focusing on the boss and just doing damage. I can just sit there, I've got my heals out, he continually does damage, and this is why I like Fiend Fire so much. It sits there and does the work for you while you can do whatever you want around you. And as you can see down the bottom, Fiend Fire is my next card again. So I'm just going to do one of my lower price cards and wait for Fiend Fire, drop that down as well, and you'll just see that the boss is absolutely got no hope at all. This is why I love summons and Fiend Fire. We'd pretty much already won this, but now you can see that he has no chance at all. If you can get to this stage in any level, you will absolutely melt your enemy. That is it for today's tips about the Forbidden Forest. If you haven't already, see this video right here. Make sure you click on that, go and watch it, and keep learning Harry Potter's Magic Awakened with me. If there's anything else you would love to know about Harry Potter, let me know down in the comments, and I'll get to that as soon as possible. Thank you.